Hi, my name's John Lally. I'm Executive Director of Today I Matter Incorporated. We're a small nonprofit located in Connecticut whose mission is to reduce the shame and stigma of mental illness and addiction while also promoting the physical, emotional, and spiritual health of our communities. Thank you for listening today. Here I wanted to talk about our reactions to this recent crisis that we're in, and ongoing crisis related to the COVID-19 virus and how it affects all of us. I'm not here to give you scientific information about what's correct about the virus or not. In fact, I'm here to encourage you not to listen to me or other people on social media, sometimes friends or families, because there's a lot of myths that are out there and misinformation. And a lot of that's related to people's fear and spreading what turn out to be rumors about this. It's a time of a lot of uncertainty, even with the experts. But if we get our information from reliable sources like the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, cdc.gov online, you can sign up for newsletters from them every day, and every day go online and check the newest information. There are frequently asked questions about the virus, so you can keep yourself informed that way. One way to deal with anxiety is with information. As much as we know is the best way to help with anxiety, because anxiety is, as we know, is a lot of fear about the unknown or the unpredictable. So information can sometimes help with anxiety. Overall, right now, we know we're asked to sacrifice for the greater good. Though some of us will certainly sacrifice more than others, it's a hardship on everybody right now. But remember that even those who don't fear contracting the virus, because they may be young, they feel like they don't have pre-existing conditions, if they get infected, can infect others around them. Some of us might be infected now and not even have any symptoms. But if we're not careful, we can give this to others that we come in contact with. So this is really about thinking about others, our family, our communities, our nation, our world, to tell the truth right now. Everyone's concerned about this. That's why they call it a pandemic. It's worldwide right now. So this is about our concern for everyone, not just ourselves. So remember, for those of us who feel we're not vulnerable, we're young, we're healthy, this isn't going to kill us, it's probably true. Again, don't quote me on these stats, but what we hear is that 80% of people who get this virus will not need hospitalization or medical care. Most of them will feel a cold, a moderate to minor cold, and some of those people infected won't have any symptoms at all, won't have any idea that they're infected. Okay? But for 20% of the population, they consider us high risk, people like myself who are over 60, but also people with underlying conditions such as heart disease, diabetes, lung problems, or people who are immunocompromised, or people tend to have respiratory problems. Even people who are young need to be concerned about the possibility of severe complications medically, and anywhere from 1 to 4% of those people are going to die. We're going to see a lot more deaths in this country than we already have. If we look at what's going on in Europe and China and other parts of the world, we know it's going to be bad here. Okay, so I mostly want to talk about the emotional toll and how we can help ourselves and each other with the stress that we're dealing with. There are many of us who already struggle with problems like loneliness, anxiety, depression, other mental illnesses. Some of us are vulnerable. We may be in recovery or struggling with addictions that really need to keep in touch with people to get our support. People in recovery from addiction, it's really about staying connected and feeling part of a community and accepting community. And right now, as far as I know, most person-to-person groups are canceled. Support groups for people, mutual aid groups like that are canceled. So there's fear of this lack of feeling connected again that are helping many people get through the day, whether it be an emotional, psychological problem like anxiety, depression, PTSD certainly, or a problem more specifically with addiction and being in recovery. So for those in recovery, I want to say, first of all, and for all of us actually, we want to stay connected with our support systems. We can't do this as much face-to-face right now, but we can do it online. We can do it through certainly texting. Telephone calls are better. If we can do a visual connection, like through Facebook, FaceTime, or Skype, or other online connections now through the internet, that's even better for some people. You can see someone. And stay connected, but reach out to others. Don't stay isolated when you know isolation is not good for you. Now, I'm not talking about physical isolation. Some of us have to do that. But mental and emotional, personal, interpersonal isolation. Keep in contact with those that you love, and as many people as you normally would, in however way that you can, other than physically right now. But right now, there's a lot of reason to feel stress, obviously. In addition to our usual life stressors, for many of us, there are multiple stressors related to quarantine and social isolation. I'm fortunate, I'm retired, I don't have a job I have to go to. I don't have young children right now who would otherwise be in school. But many of us have both of those things to deal with. We're worried about our jobs, losing our jobs. We may be laid off or furloughed, or may lose the job entirely. And there's certainly a loss of income that we have to be concerned about that. Many of us now have children that are usually would be in school that are now at home. We have to make sure these children get fed. Some of them rely on food daily from their school programs. And people have to go to work and now figure out how they're going to take care of their kids. There's a lot of stressors involved in just complying with being smart about trying to contain or mitigate this COVID virus. And people react differently to stressful situations, certainly any stressful situation, but one about quarantine and distancing and isolation. Common things that people feel are certainly have anxiety or worry, fear related to their own health. Am I going to survive? They're worried about the health status of others that they love, especially older or people with underlying conditions that make them predisposed to serious medical consequences of this disease. For some of us, there can be resentment that our friends and family may feel if they need to go in quarantine as a result of contact with you or me. And the experience of monitoring ourselves or being monitored by others for signs and symptoms of the disease can be very stressful. Taking time off from work, as I said, the potential loss of income, job security for some, the challenges of securing things that we need, such as food, medical supplies especially, concern about being able to effectively care to protect your own children or others in your care. There's a lot of uncertainty and frustration about how long we'll need to remain in this situation, or if it gets worse, or what's going to happen later today, tomorrow, or in the future. And there's a lot of loneliness associated with feeling cut off from the world and from loved ones. There can be anger if you think you're exposed to this disease because of others' negligence. There's boredom, there's frustration, because you may not be able to work or engage in your regular day-to-day activities. There's certainly, for some people, this stress can cause a desire to use alcohol or drugs to cope with this. Beware, there could be worse symptoms of depression, such as hopelessness, changes in appetite, sleeping too little or too much. This can cause exacerbation of symptoms for people with PTSD, such as intrusive, distressing memories, flashbacks, nightmares, changes in their thoughts or their moods, and being easily startled and feeling on edge. I want to encourage any of you to call your healthcare provider if stress gets into the way of your daily activities on an ongoing way. So you want to look out for feelings of numbness, anxiety, disbelief, fear. As I said, changes in appetite, energy, activity levels, difficulty concentrating, difficulty sleeping or nightmares, upsetting thoughts and images. There can be physical reactions, headaches, body pains, stomach problems, rashes, worsening of chronic health problems due to stress, anger or feeling short-tempered, and certainly, as I said, increased use of alcohol, tobacco, or other drugs. If you're experiencing any of these on an ongoing basis for 2 to 4 weeks and it's not easing up, please contact your healthcare provider. But number one, we need to reach out to others, stay connected with others. This is important for all of us. For a moment, I'll talk about especially vulnerable population with this, as those who struggle with addiction and or are in recovery from addiction. Connection is said in 12 steps is the opposite of addiction. For many people in recovery, what helps them the most is a feeling of community and staying connected with those people who are helpful and supportive and accepting of them. Right now, that's extremely difficult, at least on a person-to-person basis, face-to-face basis, because most and all groups that I know of, these mutual support groups, are canceled for face-to-face meetings. But there are opportunities for people. Certainly staying connected by phone, staying connected sometimes through social media. There are a lot of websites and social media sites for online 12-step programs or support groups where people can stay connected that way. And I encourage people to use all these resources as best they can to feel like there are still people out there they can get help. Certainly if you're struggling, call somebody that you know, call somebody you trust, talk about it, get the support. If we help each other, we're going to get through this, okay? But this is also for people who are outside of the recovery community, other people who are, again, experiencing loneliness, boredom, and isolation. So we want to reach out to others to stay connected as we are through social media. Some of us can do these FaceTimes, Skype, visuals. You can visually see the other person and see that they're okay, but certainly at least by phone. Now, that's available to all of us right now. We need to stay connected that way. So there are things we can do to help ourselves in a general sense, For ourselves as individuals, we want to try to find ways to cope well and to relax. So a few tips I can give on that. One, take a break from watching social media, from watching television news, broadcast news reports about this. Maybe check in with them once a day or go online to the CDC, as I said, to try to get accurate information and stay up with the latest things, but don't listen to it all day long. We get bombarded by these messages over and over again of fear and uncertainty. And it wears us down. It wears our coping skills down. And for people with anxiety, it just heightens it and makes it worse. So take breaks from that, specifically, concerning the latest news or what's going on about that, okay? Next thing, take care of your body, all right? Try to get some exercise. Right now, getting out in the fresh air, keeping your social distance from others, but getting out, taking a walk in the fresh air, feeling the sunlight, getting out into the world is helpful. Both the fresh air, the sunlight, and the exercise can really help us a lot of ways coping with stress. Try to eat regularly, well-balanced meals as always. Trying to slow down, take deep breaths, stretch, maybe meditate for some of us, okay? Trying to get plenty of sleep as we can, and normal sleep, and avoid alcohol and other drugs right now. Though they may feel give us an immediate sense of calmness, they're going to make our anxiety or depression worse, and they're not going to help in the long run. So you want to make some time to unwind. Try to do some activities that you enjoy. Now is the time for maybe hobbies at home that you didn't want to pick up, or finish that good book that you've always wanted, or listen to some music. These are times to do that. If you can do that, interact with others. Pull out the old board games. Nothing wrong with playing some Scrabble or card games. If you have kids at home, that's a good way to keep them involved. But most of all, connecting with others, trying to connect with people, talk with people you trust and enjoy. But it's also at the same time important to talk about our fears, our worries, our concerns. Talk it over with loved ones and others that we trust. Sometimes we just need to say these things out loud. I'm scared. I'm not sure what to do. Hear from others. Yes, I feel the same, but you know what? We're going to help each other. We're going to be here for each other, and we're going to get through this together. Another vulnerable population certainly are children. Intellectually and emotionally, they don't have the same skills as most of us adults on how to cope with this. They have a lot of misunderstandings and myths themselves and unrealistic fears. So we want to talk about them. Start off with them, children at least, as with us. Try to avoid them from being bombarded from television and media with these messages about how bad things are and people dying all day long. Let them get their information from you. You get accurate information yourself. Let them hear it from you, especially the younger children. They don't know how to comprehend this, and they hear people dying all the time, and they're worried about is this happening to them and their family and their community. And even though it can happen to their family, it's not likely to. So we need to help them, reassure, and let them get that kind of information from us. And it's our responsibility to get accurate information. All right. So you want to talk to them now, so you know that you're prepared to keep them safe. You acknowledge that there are these concerns. There is there's bugs or viruses, however you want to call them, that some people will get. Almost everybody will survive. You want to tell them that. But that you've listened to the experts and you know ways where you can help keep them safe. And you talk about hand washing and social distancing, and that's why they're staying home from school. So if we all stay apart for a while from other people, we're going to get this virus a chance to die down and go away. That's the hopes you want to present. Obviously, with children, they're at different ages, different developmental stages, so you want to give them the information as much as they will comprehend, but not too much that might make them more confused. Okay, so you think about you might have to treat each child a little bit differently. But number one, stay calm. You want to reassure your children. Children are really good about reading our emotions. So if we're looking uptight and anxious and overly stressed, they're going to feel that. And it's going to give them a sense that I need to be more worried than I am. Because look at my parents. If they're worried, I should really be scared. They look to us for a sense of confidence, for a sense of trying to keep some control in their lives. And we can do that by being calm, by giving accurate information, and trying to keep some structure in their days. With them being home now, normally they'd be at school, it's important to keep some structure, some kind of routine, so they feel like life is their parents are controlling their life. There is some predictability to their life right now. There's some structure around it, and children like, even though they might deny it, they like structure. They like rules. They feel more secure when there are rules and structures and easy to understand limits. So keeping that around our children is also very important. Encourage them to get outside when possible. No, they can't be playing with their friends like normally, but with their siblings that they're normally in contact with, they can be outdoors. Again, being outdoors for them is a stress relief, right? Getting some activity outside, getting fresh air, running around, maybe playing with the dog, playing tag with their siblings, or getting outside more, going for a walk with you into the woods, or maybe time to teach them about nature. There are still things they can enjoy outside to help them feel less isolated. Indoors, you can encourage them to start projects. It can be very helpful for kids to express themselves through drawing and painting and writing. Writing, for those old enough to write a journal about their feelings and their concerns. But artwork, give them artwork. Draw the things that you're thinking about. Let's talk about that. Or just for fun. Again, playing board games, having the family together and having some fun and having some laughs to help them feel like this is all not stressful. Okay, encourage them to talk with others. They might be worried about their older grandparents or others. Let them, if you can, see them visually online, or again, Skype or FaceTime. Certainly, if you can't do that, at least talk to them. Let them kind of allay some of their concerns when they see their loved ones and see that they're good and they're healthy. That'll help their anxiety as well. Okay? But overall, as a society, I think this is a time for calmness, compassion, and kindness, right? Crises like this sometimes exaggerate people's fears, their prejudices, and misconceptions. But we need to work hard to avoid assumptions and blame. I'll give you an example. I saw a picture the other day on Facebook of a couple of women loading what looked like maybe 30 or 40 giant packages of toilet paper into their vehicle. And underneath that, you see the remarks of people. Some were supportive, but there were many negative remarks, judging these people, calling these women, I'll say, the B word, right now, that they're hoarding this stuff, and they're probably going to try to sell it for 3 times the price and take advantage of all of us. And though there are people right now, unfortunately, who will try to capitalize on this moment for their own financial gain. But I think that's the great minority. I really believe my philosophy of our organization is that most people are good. Most people will try to do the right thing. And when we talk about stigma and shame and mental illness and addiction, the way to combat that is more about compassion and non-judgment, and try to understand what the other person is going through. For all I know, these 2 women may have been stocking up an elderly apartment complex. My mother lives in one of these, where there are many older people who can't get out, who don't drive or can't get to the store. Some of them have families, some of them don't. And a possibility is that these women were supplying them, or a group home, or bringing them to a nonprofit that was going to distribute them to the needy. How do we know that's not the case? But we got to really be careful about jumping to conclusions, especially negative conclusions, and blaming people when we don't have the information. The other thing about this is taking this all seriously as our personal responsibility. You know, we really need the younger people to step up here, as many of them are. But I'm concerned about the minority of people who feel that they're not at risk, that even if they get this disease, there'll be a cold and they'll be fine. And so they're going to go on living their lives as normal. You know, this is the way to deal with this. This is not about being macho or saying, I'm not going to let this virus control me or my life. That's the wrong attitude. That's a selfish attitude. This is really about our community, starting with our families, our neighbors, our communities, our nation as a whole, and even the world, as I said. We all need to do our part, because remember, we may be infected and not even have symptoms and maybe never get sick, but we can infect others. So again, this is a concern that we all need to do our parts to kind of mitigate this disaster, to, as I say, keep that curve lower instead of peaking, so we don't overwhelm our medical system. And each one of us has a responsibility. Some of us certainly sacrifice more than others. But you know, there are crises in this country and in our history where we've had to use the military, where people go out every day in combat and put their lives on the line at that moment. They may not come back that day, but they do it willingly for the good of their country. Now, this is nothing like that. This is a lot simpler than what we're asked to do, though it can be very stressful for many people. But this is, again, not just about ourselves. This is about for the good of our families, our neighbors, and our communities as a whole. So I want to end with talking about, as we do again in our Today I Matter organization, that really this is about compassion and kindness and caring. Thinking about others, recognizing that we have to step back, keep ourselves educated, keep in connection with other people that we care, help reduce the stress of those who are struggling more than us. Could be our neighbors, our children, our family, our friends. Keep in contact, keep connected, and reassure people that if we use compassion and kindness and not judge others for their fears that may be irrational, anxiety can be irrational. Most of the time, anxieties are when they get to a point where it gets to the panic stage. We all need to have just a little bit of anxiety that keeps us on our toes, that keeps us aware that we need to do things properly. But let's support those who are struggling more than us. Call your neighbors, call your friends, keep in contact. If there's someone next door that doesn't have much family or are older or at risk, check on them. Make sure they're okay. Ask them if they need help. If you need to drop some groceries off at their door, you don't have to have contact with them. Drop the groceries at the door. They could leave you a check maybe or something if you need that. But let's think about each other's. Remember, we can't go wrong when we educate ourselves and act with kindness, rationality, and compassion. Thank you.